that P3 has been all over the world. It's done some incredible things.
I think maybe the best way to sum it up would be it's a bit of a quiet achiever.
So it started off as a bespoke anti-submarine warfare platform, and then we find ourselves in the Middle East doing overland ISR, which nobody ever thought we would do, and everything in between.
The P3s have played an instrumental role both in peace and war, and the peacetime operations, some of those were near war ops, so chasing Russian submarines, chasing other people's submarines. That's in the story. The Air Force played probably the lead role in the Cold War out of the three services, simply because we had P3s. I think that's a story that needs to be told.
The best way to, I guess, describe anti-submarine warfare, it's like playing chess at 400 k's an hour against an enemy you can't see. And in that context, when a crew works well, it is just poetry.
We can do search and rescue in that aircraft better than any other platform in Australia in those days. We did search and rescues for the Bullemor and the French female sailor down south. They were our aircraft out there. Nothing else could have got to them.
If we're doing search and rescue and it's a matter of people looking out windows, a radar as good as what we got won't pick up a person in the water. And it comes down to the Mark 1 eyeball, people looking out windows. Because that one time you see that thing, whatever it may be in the water, that might be the last time.
I was over in RAAF Pierce for about 3 weeks on the search for MH370, which involved a lot of quite long flights. Unfortunately, as we know, nothing was ever found, but it's, I guess, rewarding to be contributing, but at the same time, not nice to know when you haven't found what you actually set out to look for.
Some missions are easy, some missions are difficult. So some missions are difficult technically because the conditions might be suboptimal, because you are looking, the thing you're tasked with isn't simple to execute. They can be difficult emotionally just purely because of what's going on. So one mission that comes to mind was our anti-piracy mission in 2010. So we were tasked to do anti-piracy work off the coast of Somalia, and we got hailed by a US ship, the Winston Churchill, because they had a mass search and rescue situation on their hands. Somalian refugees trying to cross across to Yemen. They were intercepted, they were getting towed back, and they were offered food and water. They all rushed to one side, the barge overturned. You're going out to do what you think is a routine anti-piracy mission, which by itself sounds odd, right? Routine anti-piracy mission. And you find yourself in a very emotional search and rescue with people who have already perished and looking for people who are missing.
Yes, there's a large variety of tasking that we can receive. And that we do. Some of it we can't talk about. Some of it we'll never be able to talk about. But the general public predominantly don't see too much of it. They would probably hear about border protection.
I guess the hard thing about those places that we go to is there's a lot of uncertainty. So for like family and that sort of thing, we don't know when we're going to be back. So we can't give any information on when we're going to be back or if we're going to be back for the next event that the family's planned.
There are significant challenges that come with working here. They're all to do with what we do rather than how we do it. We are a search and rescue asset. You can't plan a search and rescue, you have to respond. We are the asset that responds to regional crises, and the vast majority of our capabilities are responsive, which means that you're going to have to be flexible.
I think any pilot at our squadron would say it's a pilot's aircraft. It's not fully automated, it's old school, you've got a flight engineer, it's basic in terms of some of its functions up the front for the pilot. It's not down the back end, the guys down the back have got the best and brightest technology, but up the front it's old school. We've got flight engineers, we've got propellers, it's very old school compared to what's coming out these days. We don't have electronic starting, we don't have, it's all done by hand and head.
It's a different vibe on each aircraft. It really is. And they all handle very slightly differently. You know, some are slightly bent one way, some are slightly bent the other way. They're all individual. This is a warfighting aeroplane. We talk about the fast jets as being warfighting aeroplanes, but this is a weapons platform. It carries torpedoes, it carries anti-shipping missiles, and it will use them if it is deemed necessary.
If you went to someone and said, "Oh, what planes do we have in the Air Force?" they'd probably be like, "Oh, F-18 Hornets, or C-17s, the big ones, whatever." And then if you mention to them, "Oh, what about the P3s?" they'll be like, "What? They don't really know it." So I think maybe that would be a good sort of theme to have with it, is in like, "Oh, this is the P3. You might not have heard about it, but it's actually got quite a long list of operations that it's done over the years, more than any fighter aircraft."
Operationally, they've flown hard. So individually, they're important, and as a collective, they've kept Australia safe for so long.
The planes being into war zones, it's brought us all home safely. And that's the most important thing, because getting home safely is what we're all here for. Looking after Australia, but getting home to our family. And I think it's really important that people know that that aircraft has brought everyone home safely. That's all it is. That's all you can ask from an airplane.